going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal, Spaz Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check. And I can't help but start this video questioning what the hell is the point of me doing this video. What am I possibly going to say, or what am I possibly going to discuss, or what am I possibly going to reflect to you guys that isn't being said or reflected or celebrated by anybody that does anything like this, that anybody on Twitter hasn't already said, that hasn't been covered by Joe and Jake or Good Mike Work or What Culture or any of those other much bigger names than myself, let's be real. Tonight, we're here to talk about the second episode of AEW Rampage, ironically titled The First Dance, the biggest crowd in AEW history, if what they've told us is to be believed, in Chicago. And the guy that they've been promoting for what seems like months, without ever saying his name. This was, I don't want to get like super philosophical or anything like that, but so I'm going to try and keep it to somewhat of a normal review. This was one of those things that branched out past, are you an AEW fan? Are you a WWE fan? Are you an NXT fan? Are you a New Japan fan? Are you a Impact fan? Are you a ROH fan? NWA fan? This was something that everybody was waiting for. Not only would CM Punk ever wrestle again, would he show up in AEW, but once you have that yes or no, like, how does he do it? Why does he do it? Where does he do it? All that kind of thing. And leading up to this show, everybody had their own ideas of, oh, he's going to come in and I think he should feud with, like, say, for example, Moxley. I think he should feud with Moxley, so Moxley's got a match later on tonight. Wouldn't he just jump into the match and get in Moxley's face, or let his music ring for a couple of seconds and have a dirty stare down with, you know, Darby Allin or Chris Jericho, which would be a hell of a thing. Wouldn't it be, have him interrupt a promo, have him, you know, attack a faction backstage or whatever, like, what's he going to do? What's he going to do to make that first immediate punch? And there is something so cool about they didn't do any of that. They just started the show. My stream started a couple seconds late, the stream that I was watching, so I don't even know if they did the proper Rampage intro. But where I cut in, it was just the fans chanting CM Punk and getting what they want. And first of all, the first question that got answered right away, we know Tony Khan's not exactly shy about doling out the money for the music and all that sort of thing, but he's got cult of personality, which is awesome. And then you just got CM Punk. You didn't have to work him into anything. You didn't have to have him interrupt somebody. Like I say, you didn't have him hop into a match or whatever. Like, if it seems like my head's all over the place, I have bullet points here, but I'm really just talking to you because it was so brilliant in its simpleness, if that makes sense. Cult of personality hits. He's coming down to the ring. He milks the entrance, and I don't mean that in a bad way. For a guy that was like so, and this isn't even, I'm not even going to get into the conversation of shitting on WWE right now, but for the guy that went through so much, that poisoned himself on the industry so much to soak it up again and have that genuine, we had it last year at the Rumble when Edge came back at the 2020 Rumble, and he was trying to be a badass, and he was trying to do the pyro with the bullhorns up and all that sort of thing, but also you could see, like, you know, the happy tears, etc., in his eyes when they did the close-up. That's why they didn't stay on the close-up very long. But he just soaked it all in, and I thought that was so cool. And if you think about the fact that one of his coolest moments in WWE, if he had cool moments in WWE, it was obviously Money in the Bank, and the big reaction, and everybody replays that reaction. Not the match, not the ending segment, just John Cena in the ring, and then making the crowd wait for a second for the dramatic purposes and all that sort of thing, and then the absolute eruption that comes out when his music hits. This was sort of the same here, but it was a lot slower, it was a lot less frantic. He was going around the ring. I'm sure there were people he knew / people he recognized, etc. You know, high-fiving people, kissing people, giving people hugs and whatever. And then before he gets to the ring, he gives himself a little bit of a false running start and just jumps into the crowd. And it's one of those things a little bit outside the box, not quite so structured, that you definitely don't do in WWE. But eventually gets in the ring, and sort of in another cool thing, the first thing he did was kind of put over Britt Baker, because he lets the crowd do their thing, and then the first thing he says is, "Wow, you guys really know how to make me feel like Britt Baker in Pittsburgh." I'm like, that's great. And he addresses the crowd. I'm not going to go through everything he said, because it did take up a good portion of the beginning of the show. Talks about, for any of the fans out there that wondered where I was, wondered if I heard your chants, whatever. He says, I've heard you for 7 years. And he said, he also went into a really cool, serious places, like for anybody that felt slighted or disappointed or upset or anything like that for the decisions that I made, just know that I wasn't going to get better in the place that made me sick. And again, I know it's controversial now to go back to the Colt Cabana podcast, but it's like he said back then in that podcast, like, he's not here to shit on WWE. More so, I'm just going to tell my story, and WWE happens to be some of that story. He's like, I don't even think there was some stuff in here that could have been interpreted a certain way. I don't even think he shit on WWE in this promo. There's people that are going to take away from this as, oh, look at how CM Punk destroyed WWE on his debut. I don't think he did. He's just like, that's it. I hate using this word because the SJWs have co-opted it, but that place was toxic for me. And you don't get less toxic by staying in the toxic place, which is really, really good. He did the whole story time with CM Punk thing. He sort of sat down in the ring, cross-legged, all that sort of thing. He said, I want to talk to you about ROH and why I was so sad when I left ROH back in 2005. And he says, I didn't realize it until just now. I had helped create a place where young new stars could come and make a name for themselves, and this is something I could do here too. And he basically... Okay, maybe a slight dig on WWE. He says, as far as I'm concerned, I left wrestling in 2005 and came back to it in 2021. That's a bit of a dig. But at the same time, I don't even think it is, because WWE is an entertainment company. So you could even say that that's not... Of all the times that I somebody like myself, who still does have ties to WWE as far as my fandom and all, for all the accusations that I could throw out to AEW, taking their cheap-ass shots that they do take at WWE, none of that was this. And people are going to misinterpret that as this, and I think they're wrong. I will absolutely stand up and say this was not a big shot. This was a let's celebrate wrestling with a wrestler type thing. He went on to talk about all the people. He said, I look at the roster in AEW, and there's a lot of people that I wish I could have surrounded myself with back then. And I said to myself, well, why don't I go there now? And he started out saying Darby Allin, and I thought he was just, it's the part of the... It wasn't even a promo. He was just shooting the shit, really, which was also kind of a cool feeling. He started off with Darby Allin, and I thought he was just going to rhyme off like a couple of really cool people that he could work with. I could work with Darby Allin, I could work with Sammy Guevara, I could work with MJF, but he didn't. He singled out Darby Allin, and almost instantly the spotlight hits Darby Allin and Sting in the rafters. Sorry, I'm really excited. And so, as I said in last week's Rampage review, when I get excited, I trip over my words. So I hope you guys are dealing with that. And he calls out Darby Allin. And Darby Allin has this really cool, like, silhouette of the woods, like, painted on his face. They're up in the rafters. They're doing the Sting thing. And in this huge building that they were in, I can't remember the name of it now, the faraway look of them being up in the rafters was amplified by being in a building the size that they were in. I think somebody said something like 15,000 people filled that arena. I could be wrong. It's all good. And he says, I've seen you. I love what you do. You don't give a shit about anything pretty much, and you're into some really, really dangerous stuff. You know what the most dangerous thing you could do is fight CM Punk, and what's even more dangerous than fighting CM Punk is fighting CM Punk in Chicago. So I'll see you at All Out. And there's your pay-per-view. I don't care. Put all the other matches on All Out that you want. Put on Christian versus Omega, round 2, title versus title, which is going to be fine. Put on what's probably going to be the Lucha Brothers versus the Young Bucks in a cage. We'll get there when we get there. Put on what I think is going to be Miro versus Eddie Kingston. Put on Britt Baker versus Thunder Rosa. Put on all these other things that, you know, we're all building to, that are all really great and all really built up and anticipated and all that sort of thing. Even put on the further anticipation that we're also getting Bryan Danielson eventually. I got to get used to calling him that. Put on all of those things, but as soon as you put Darby Allin versus CM Punk, I'm sorry, I know it breaks the mold, and I know that Omega versus Christian does deserve its own bit of time to shine, because it did last week, but I would put this after the title match. That's just me. That's what you do with the biggest name they could possibly bring in, and in my opinion, the biggest name they've created since they've become a company. That's CM Punk and Darby Allin. Now, for that, I would leave Sting in the back, because there are occasionally some questionable things when you get Sting too involved and all that sort of thing. But in general, and he says, you know, just to wrap it up, I'm back. I've got a lot more to tell you guys. I'm not going to tell you guys everything tonight, but the good thing is I've got every Wednesday, I've got every Friday, and I've got about 4 pay-per-views, and I'm not going anywhere. So sort of a sly under the... I don't know what you want to call it, a sly, under the covers, just assertion that he's not there to be a part-timer, which is also really good. Have a presence. I mean, I don't think he has to wrestle every week. Like, he's not 20 anymore, but he's not coming in for a paycheck. He's not coming in for a big 4 pay-per-view spot and fucking off again. Obviously, he's not Sasha Banks. It's confirmed later on in the night that CM Punk is going to come back and make his first appearance on Dynamite this coming Wednesday to further address stuff and probably build sort of something between him and... You don't have to do anything. Here's the thing, and this is not a dig per se. AEW likes to do the long-term storytelling because apparently WWE doesn't do any, even though that's not true. So I think they're going to feel like they have to attach a story to this or a conflict to this. I don't think you do. Honestly, I really don't think you do. You've done it. You've had Darby Allin calling CM Punk's name before CM Punk showed up, when he was an idea in everybody's head, when he was, you know, Cookie Monster, Chick Magnet, you know, don't even call yourself the best in the world, we're not even going to mention you by name. And then to basically have CM Punk come out tonight and say, look, I've heard all of you. Darby, I've heard you. I'll see you at All Out. That's enough. You can leave that alone. It's not that far away. Just put the marquee up, put the graphic up, get your extra buys, get your extra tickets sold. I think they're already sold out, so that was a dumb thing to say. Just leave this as it is right now. Let Punk maybe have a match on Dynamite. Let Darby Allin keep having awesome matches and keep doing stuff with the different groups that he associates himself with. We can talk about that at the end of the show. These guys don't have to have a problem. These guys can just go out there and have a match. It would be like if CM Punk had come out tonight, and this is not necessarily what I would want, because you want to save another pop for another day, but if CM Punk had come out to cut his promo and been cut off by Bryan Danielson, and they said, hey, how about we have a fight at All Out, you wouldn't have to add a story to that, because the people that know, and the people that don't know can just say, look, there's 2 awesome wrestlers, let's let them have a wrestling match. Now, that was the end of the CM Punk thing, and the only thing bad that I would say is I was kind of thinking after this, well, nobody else is going to get a reaction because the crowd is dead. Not true, though, because I will give AEW credit. They know who they have. They know who the crowd loves. So they sent out CM Punk. They sent out CM Punk to reference Darby Allin, and then they have a match with Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus in it. Now, Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus taking on the Private Party in the semifinal of this little mini 4-team tournament that they're doing to establish a #1 contender for the pay-per-view, which they shouldn't have to do because of their highly touted ranking system, but we've passed that being a thing. We've got these 2 facing. On Wednesday, we're going to have the Varsity Club and the Lucha Brothers fight. Private Party versus the Jurassic Express was what it was. Christian in the back with Jurassic Express, hyping them up and talking shit about Kenny Omega was kind of fun. He wasn't out there with them for the match. Marco Stunt was. We'll talk about that in a second. Private Party, I don't know what to say about Private Party, because I really liked them because they were just like... when they were baby faces, they were sort of arrogant, sort of cocky guys. They had that club vibe to them. And now they're just arrogant guys that are arrogant because Matt Hardy is their manager and because occasionally they do some Hardy-esque stuff. They did the poetry in motion at one point in this match, and they called it the money in motion. I don't know what you want me to say about that. I liked Private Party, and I like Matt Hardy. I think Matt Hardy, in most instances, is brilliant. But him just collecting a bunch of people and just being an asshole on the outside, it doesn't quite work the same. There's a lot of people involved in this as well. Matt Hardy is in his team's corner. Marco Stunt is with Jurassic Express, obviously. The current champions, the Young Bucks, are up on the stage with stools that have their name on them. And on opposite sides of the ring, in the front row, you've got the Varsity Club and you've got Penta. Now, I always find the front row thing weird. They do it in WWE too when they point out celebrities and whatnot. But active wrestlers on the roster don't need to buy a ticket. So whenever I see wrestlers in the crowd watching a match, yes, I know it's good storytelling. I know there's a function to it. But it's either like, it's really weird that you had to buy a ticket, or you took somebody else's seat. Now, I know that that's not the point. I know that that's not the function it serves at all. But it is one of those things in wrestling that we just kind of accept and we move on. It's like, remember when Goldberg was getting ready to face Lesnar in that awesome match at WrestleMania 20? But in the build at, what was it, No Way Out, when it was a SmackDown pay-per-view, SmackDown-specific pay-per-views back in the day, and what was it, Goldberg was the Raw guy, so Steve Austin bought him a ticket, and he sat in the front row, and he didn't even go to the seat until the main event so he could fuck with Lesnar, and hey, we got the Eddie Guerrero moment out of that. But Lesnar, the idea of Lesnar buying a ticket to a WWE show, or sorry, Goldberg rather, buying a ticket to a WWE show as a WWE wrestler, it's always seemed a bit ridiculous to me. I get the symbolism of it. I get, oh, look over your shoulder this way, look over your shoulder this way. These are all the other challenges you may have on the horizon. I get that. And it's all good, and it serves its purpose. And if we just sort of let it go, it's a visual building block type thing. Respect the hell out of that. If you think about it a little too much, it falls apart entirely. That's all I'm going to say about that. And I mean, the Young Bucks are the Young Bucks. And the Varsity Club, I'm sorry, they're good wrestlers, but they've never been presented on the same plane as Jurassic Express, Lucha Brothers, or even Private Party, really. And the Young Bucks being up on the stage. There's way too many. There are 4 or 5 times as many people on the outside of this match as on the inside of this match. There was a moment where Hardy kind of ragdolls Marco Stunt on the outside, and it's kind of a brawl, but it's kind of an awkward brawl, because you're thinking one of those guys is really small, and one of those guys is Matt Hardy, whose body is probably half fallen apart. They did something. I lost my place once again. I cannot read my writing. That's absolutely terrible. I don't know what I was trying to remember there. Jungle Boy. It was on Luchasaurus's shoulders, and he was going to do a superplex off the top rope to Isaiah Cassidy. Isaiah Cassidy blocked it, jumps off the top rope, catches Jungle Boy, who's on Luchasaurus's shoulders, and Canadian Destroyers him in midair. That was fucking insane. That was absolutely fucking insane. And then eventually the Gin and Juice is countered into a Mega DDT, Mega Tornado DDT by Jungle Boy. They hit some other sort of a combine move to win the match. Jurassic Express gets the win here. I didn't think Private Party was going to get the win. They go on to face the Varsity Blondes versus the Lucha Brothers. Whoever wins on Wednesday, it's going to be the Lucha Brothers. Let's be real. And then we move on, and then in the back, Omega and Callis sort of rant and respond to Christian about what he was saying earlier, but also talk about how this is the first dance, this show should have been all about us. So there's already a slight dig at CM Punk, so they're laying the groundwork for that as well. I don't know about you guys, I don't really want CM Punk in the title picture right away, because it would feed into that criticism that all wrestling companies get, that, oh, you bring in a big name and you just hotshot them to the title picture. But also, there are people that I want to see CM Punk wrestle way more than Kenny Omega. Now, gonna go out on a limb here, because the finals of this little 4-team tournament is going to happen on next week's Rampage, so I will be up here to talk to you guys about it again. No way the Varsity Blondes are beating the Lucha Brothers. Let's be real. They're going to go on, and that match will be on next week's Rampage. It's going to be Lucha Brothers versus Jurassic Express. Let me know what you guys think. It's for a cage match, title match at the pay-per-view. Who do you want to see in a cage match against the Young Bucks? Is it the Lucha Brothers or is it Jurassic Express? We know what the Bucks and Jurassic... Now, my opinion of the Bucks aside, I'm not going to doubt what they can do in the ring. We've seen what the Lucha Brothers and the Bucks can do in a ladder match situation where they're free to go all over the place. In a more confined situation, do you want to see the Bucks versus the Jurassic Express, or do you want to see them versus the Lucha Brothers? The only reason I say this is because they are telling a story with Death Triangle, with the Lucha Brothers and Pac is going to face Andrade at the pay-per-view. So are they going to tell that story of, hey, we're all going to have a good night at the pay-per-view? In which case, unfortunately, Jurassic Express probably gets bumped to some sort of pre-show match or whatever. And I'm going to say it right now, in case I forget to say it later on. Apparently, they're doing a women's casino battle royal at All Out. I'm predicting as the Joker, or as the winner, or both, to be Ruby Soho. And I think that'd be really cool. I think AEW have done enough of a good job showing that they can, not directly, but sort of, hey, WWE, you had this great talent for a long time. What the fuck? Why didn't you do anything with them? Moxley, Aleister Black, Miro eventually. And I'm saying eventually because at the beginning, the Miro stuff with Kip Sabian and Penelope and their gamers, and they were talking about Twitch and all that was bad. That was real bad. But eventually you get to the Redeemer thing now, which I'm 50-50 on, but in the ring as a champion, the guy's good. Ruby Riott, a.k.a. Ruby Soho, I know she used to be Heidi Lovelace, but I wasn't watching her back then, is somebody I would really like to see. I said before, if Charlotte Flair were to follow her husband to AEW, I wouldn't want to see her go for the title right away because I don't want the discourse that comes with that. And also, I would like to see her have more technical matches with people like Serena Deeb and Thunder Rosa. If Ruby Soho comes in and she gets a title shot, the match between Ruby Soho and Britt Baker would be a lot of fun. You know what's not quite so fun? And that was a hell of a transition, wasn't it? It's tired in here. Jade Cargill versus Kiera Hogan. Now, I said this on Twitter, and I'll say it again here. I cannot be the only one that doesn't give a rat lizard fuck about Jade Cargill. She's big. She's a hell of an athlete. Nobody's going to take that away from her. She can't really cut a promo, hence they've got a manager with her now. She's trying to get over by saying bitch a lot, which makes her the Dean Blundell, not quite Howard Stern of wrestling. And she came in to be a partner of a celebrity one-off match in a mixed tag with, you know, her original female opponent in that match being replaced. Like, she's had a bad introduction, and what the fuck does she do other than make everybody else look like a jobber? Now, Kiera Hogan, on the other side of the coin, who got jobbed out before the match started because they gave her the jobber entrance, which sucks. I really like her. They've just done the dismantling of Fire and Flava on Impact. Nobody's really been able to tell me one way or the other whether she's left Impact and signed a contract with AEW. I think she's been on Dark a couple of times. Somebody can correct me down in the box below. I don't know whether it's just a part of the sharing arrangement that they're not putting as much focus on, but if they are, I'll say it like this: the sharing arrangement between Impact and AEW has been fun. It has made for some interesting matches, but 99.9% of it, up until Christian Cage got the title, was just what members of the Super Elite were showing up on AEW and what members of the Super Elite were showing up on Impact. There wasn't really anything else. So if you want to talk about, hey, maybe interpromotional pay-per-views sometime down the line, how have we not had Britt Baker versus Deonna Purrazzo and those types of matches? I don't know. I would love to see more of that. Is Kiera Hogan an example of that, or is Kiera Hogan come on over to AEW? Either one of those is fine, but if we're blurring the lines, let's not just blur the lines in one spot. Does that make sense? Tell me in the box. Tell me in the box below if you think I'm talking absolute rubbish, because I am tired, and these are, again, mostly thoughts just coming off the top of my head. Jade Cargill squashing Kiera Hogan is... it's not the move. I'm just saying it's not the move. Velvet, Red Velvet, sorry. Keep wanting to say Velveteen Dream, Velvet Underground. Red Velvet versus, what's-her-face? Britt Baker, in her hometown, as a defending champion. That worked. This didn't, because I don't care about Jade Cargill. I saw somebody online calling her female Virgil, and I'm not going to go that far, but I'm also not going to lie and say that I didn't laugh a lot. There was a promo before this, I think, or a promo package anyway, of Jade Cargill's like weird looking manager dude talking some shit and talking about Fuego del Sol and the situation that happened last week on Rampage. Oh, that was an interesting turn of events there. We're going to do the same thing, except nobody cares about... People cared about Fuego del Sol and Sammy Guevara bringing him a contract afterwards and whatever. And people care about Miro, who did the squashing. Jade Cargill doesn't have any of those things going for her. And, as I say, Kiera Hogan, like, where does she actually lie? You know what was funny, though? Was Moxley versus Garcia. Because I thought... like a lot of people thought, like a lot of people were speculating, that the main event between Mox and Garcia was going to be where CM Punk would show up. So after CM Punk showed up, there was a feeling, and I sort of got the same feeling online as well, of like, oh, okay, well, this is just Mox is going to kill somebody. They do this cool thing, and they did it last week, they're going to do it this week as well. I don't know if this is going to be a thing going forward, where they have an interview, like a three-way split screen, and it's each competitor that's about to fight, and an interviewer in the middle. This time it was Mark Henry. Mark Henry's doing I mentioned this last week. I'm going to mention it again this week. Him on commentary is not too shabby, better than I expected, and him doing this sort of like, hey man, what's going on? The way he talked to Moxley, and he's like, hey man, you sort of went off on Wednesday. How you doing now? And Mox's response of like, hey, I'm about to go beat the shit out of this dweeb, and somebody told me to put an earpiece in my ear and talk to an interviewer. That's what you would say. That's what you would say. But also, he talks about because Garcia says, oh, I got wins over Fuego del Sol and one of the Seidel brothers, but if I want to be somebody in this company, I gotta go for the big dogs like Mox. And Mox makes a reference to him being a submission wrestler and says he has a better chance of getting me pregnant than getting me to submit in that ring tonight, which was absolutely brilliant. The match was cool too, because you had Mox, who's mostly... I don't take away from the guy's ability as a wrestler, but I picture Mox as a brawler. I picture Mox as somebody beating the shit out of somebody, as a personality, as a person in the ring, whatever the case may be. But Garcia, because of that image, I guess, did manage to out-technique him at a bunch of different points in this match. Moxley came back. His response to that was a lot of suplexes. Like double underhook. He did a bunch of the Doomsday Saidos, which I thought was really cool. Towards the end, I mean, I'm a Hart fan. I'm a Canadian wrestling fan in general. Garcia puts him in a really, really bad sharpshooter that Moxley pretty easily turns over into a bully choke and gets the win. Post-match, 2.0 get in there. There's a 3-on-1 advantage. Kingston, who has been on the outside, he jumps in, so it's 3-on-2. Sting and Darby Allin come in, so the baby faces have a 4-on-3 advantage. Again, that's always fun. Normally I would pick the shit out of that, but you know what? I like this little group we've got that is the perfect group for ending off shows. You remember back in the day, there used to be like the unsaid rule: no matter who wins, no matter who loses, no matter if he's not even in the match, we usually end off a show with Austin giving somebody a stunner and the glass breaking so everybody can go home happy. This group is kind of like that. This Kingston, Moxley, Darby Allin, Sting group. Because as soon as the four of them get together, it's not a match. They're not really telling a story anymore. They're gonna beat some people up, and then they're just gonna hang out like a bunch of buddies at a bar. And I mean, I can't say enough about this show. I really can't. You guys know where my biases are, and it's weird coming up to talk to you guys about AEW, because, as I always say, I'll balance out what I'm saying. The criticisms that I have, and they take place more on Dynamite, if this is going to be the pattern. The criticisms I have of AEW are still very much there. But, as you'll notice by a lot of my content this week, being a WWE fan, being an NXT fan specifically right now, they're not making it easy to be loved. And when you've got a feel-good thing to end the show, Mox and Kingston just have fun. The entrance, because, again, like I said at the beginning of the show with Darby and Sting in the rafters, Moxley making his entrance took forever because they're in a big building. He started at the merch stand surrounded by fans. Halfway down towards the ring, Kingston just kind of comes out of the fans and joins them, and they soak it up. They have a similar moment to what Punk had at the beginning of the night, and they make it down to the ring. It's like they're hanging out with the fans. Hey, just hold on, I got to beat up this guy, and then we're going to hang out some more. Like, the match was almost an inconvenience at that point. But then you get Darby down at the end, and it's almost like, and Sting's the dad, I'll make that joke, right? But it's like three brothers, and Darby is the scrappy little brother that they're all really proud of because he's a psychopath. And I don't mean that to put Darby down. You guys know I love Darby as well, but Darby, Kingston, and Moxley as a group with Sting kind of there as like the legend, the mentor figure, the icon, whatever preface you want to put on it. There's something about that unit. And I swear to God, the rumors have been swirling forever. The rumors swirled forever about CM Punk. Now he's here. The rumors have been swirling about a trios title for a long time. And if you want to give me a tournament of trios in AEW, please make the final Death Triangle versus Moxley, Kingston, and Darby, with Sting there to manage them or whatever the case may be. This was a fucking good... Start with Punk. Add in Darby Allin. Add in the popularity of Jurassic Express. Have one little hiccup with a women's match that didn't work on any level. End with this group of four guys here. This was a hell of a show. As I say, there's probably not a thing that I've said tonight that everybody else reviewing or talking or discussing about this show hasn't already said. But hey, lots of fun. WWE's fucked. I don't know what else to say. Like, I can't even say I don't want to say it because it's just true. Like, if you follow this up with the other rumored names that have been said, follow this up with Bryan Danielson, Adam Cole, Bray Wyatt. I've heard Switchblade Jay White, who I've only seen a little fraction of in Impact, but he doesn't hurt my feelings being on my screen. God damn. He actually said on Twitter, I guess it was a troll, hey, see you guys in Chicago tonight, unless there's another event happening in Chicago tonight that I don't know about. Lots and lots and lots of fun stuff. Very easy to digest. Very easy for me to ramble off of because the actual stuff I have to talk about is only an hour worth of content. I don't think I could have this much solo content to talk to you guys about a typical 2-hour episode of NXT right now. And look at the flag. You know where my biases are. I'm having more fun talking to you guys about this at ridiculous o'clock on a Friday. Hope you guys are enjoying this. If you guys are enjoying this, if you guys are enjoying the Rampage coverage on here specifically, please, please, please check it off. Check it off. Subscribe, share it, send it to anybody else you might think that'll like it. Also, earlier today, or earlier yesterday by the time this goes out, Friday morning I dropped 3 previews. One of them won't be relevant anymore because Emergence has already happened. There are previews up for SummerSlam and for TakeOver, and there will be the next episode of NXT Rewind going up on Sunday before TakeOver 36. Lots to check out. This has been a really busy weekend on the channel. Thanks for the reaction that I've gotten so far, and that's about it. I need to go have a nap. I've been Spaz, your YWC Reality Check. Subscribe up there. Talk down there. Start a conversation. Keep all these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I'll talk to each and every last one of you later, but for right now, I'm out of here. Bye, guys.